Today on the News and Why, the 2020 debate coming up tonight. The matchups. I'm not sure if I can handle.
It's going to be awesome.
All of this.
Mm-hmm. You're going to love it.
That was a really good sell.
Awesome, I swear.
Also, Trump's comments on Baltimore and also Nancy Pelosi in Ghana and the dangers of illegal immigration. We got a big show tonight. Let's get it started right now. All right, before we get into the show, I want to thank our sponsor, iTarget Pro. So for you shooters out there, and I know there are a lot of you, iTarget Pro, if you don't have it, you got to get it. You got to use it. It pays for itself because what it does is it actually goes into whatever caliber gun you own, and you get a laser bullet. And how cool is that just in itself to be able to say, I have a laser bullet, right?
That is a cool thing.
That's cool in itself. Cool. But what it's actually doing is it's helping you practice dry firing. And for those of you shooters out there, you know that dry firing, that's the way that you're really going to get skilled. That's the way that you're really going to learn how to use your gun. You learn what the pull feels like. I know when I got my little baby 380 that everyone makes fun of because it's like a baby gun. It was the pull. Every time I pulled it, it's surprisingly a long pull. And you're not going to be able to get used to it. You know, you could go to a range, but dry firing is so important. And again, you go to a range, you could spend a ton on range fees, you can spend a ton on ammunition, or you can just go to iTarget Pro and order, and you get to keep reusing that laser bullet. It's not like, you know, regular bullets where you just have to keep paying for it. You can go to itargetpro.com right now. Get 10% off plus free shipping with promo code NEWS. That is itargetpro.com. Added benefit, you're not just like making holes in your walls with your bullets.
Every time I see that commercial, I want Jason Buttrell to come help me learn how to dry fire.
We need to get you an iTarget Pro.
We do.
We really need to get you one. And also Jason Buttrell at your service. All right, Stu, I know your top story is the 2020 debate, which thank you.
I do feel like I have a little bit of sales to go here on the why it matters part of this particular program today. But so let me give you this. 2 weeks before the greatest day in human history, Super Bowl 52, when the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the New England Patriots, the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Minnesota Vikings, which was another fantastic day in human history.
I can't wait to hear that.
However, at that same day, there was an AFC championship game. Okay, and I really wanted to see who the Eagles were going to play. Obviously, the Patriots won that game, but that was still really important. Like you want to know what they're doing. They want to know how they're doing it. You want to make sure you have the whole picture here. So this is essentially the other conference's championship game, right? And this is actually like it's a little earlier than that. We're like in the first round of the playoffs, or maybe the preseason. There's a lot of people who wouldn't make it out of the preseason in this particular field. However, we do have 10 of them on stage tonight. If you happen to watch Glenn's show, I filled in for Glenn. We went through all 25 candidates in a 25 candidate power ranking from 25 all the way to number 1. We do this thing where we take 40 categories of the health of a campaign, from polling and fundraising and endorsements and all that crap, and we do all the number crunching and come out with a score from 0 to 100. So if you want to see that, you can watch it on if you're a subscriber at BlazeTV.com, or you could go at glennbeck.com. You can kind of see the text version. Bottom line is you got 10 candidates tonight going at it. There are a couple of interesting storylines, I think, that when you go through this. First of all, I'll give you one that's probably not all that interesting, but Steve Bullock will be making his debut. Now, you may... Yes, thank you very much. Governor of... Something. Yes.
Talk about a dry fire.
He's the governor of Montana. I mean, it's interesting in that, like, it's probably the only time he's going to be on the stage. He's at 0% or 1% in the polls. He's a red state governor. He's been a 2-term red state governor, won a state that Trump won handily. So there's an argument on paper that he actually could do something here, but you figure he's too moderate and has no real profile, probably will not. Outside of that, you got Bernie and Elizabeth Warren next to each other, the two socialists on the same stage, which will be moderately interesting. Supposedly, they have a little truce. They're not going to be going after each other. Now, it just shows that Bernie is not very good strategically, because this definitely helps Elizabeth Warren more than it helps Bernie Sanders. People are trying to still find out who Elizabeth Warren is. The fact that she's going to have to deal with another socialist trying to pull her even further to the left is only going to help Elizabeth Warren. You have...
and the fact that she's, I hear, 2 1,000th, 24th.
Oh, really? Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Could have been fake news.
It could
That
have
should
been
help
probably-
her.
yeah.
She went to the bathroom and came back, and she was back to the original statistics. Yeah.
Bob Frank O'Rourke, I know a favorite of Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
You love the Bob Frank.
Can I just ask, hold on really quickly, why does it look like he has a high school yearbook photo for his picture?
It does look like that.
Wait, what is this picture?
I don't know.
It's terrible.
I don't know. There's some very strange pictures. What is Tim Ryan doing? He looks like he's surprised by something.
To your point, they're trying to make him look like a Kennedy. That's what they want him to look like. They want him to look like a young Kennedy there, and that's what's going on with the hair and the teeth and the whole thing. That's the look.
Look, Bob Frank really needs something good to happen. It's been a lot of bad for Robert Francis recently, so he really needs to actually accomplish something here. How does he do that? Well, he can try to show himself to the right of Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, which are only a couple of the two people he actually is to the right of, but that's not going to work with the debate audience. I mean, he is in serious, serious trouble. I'll give you a couple more here. Buttigieg has a chance. He's in the second tier, right? He's not on that top rung. He's also not down with these people at 1% and 2%. He's got really good fundraising. He's about 5 or 6% in most of these polls. But he can't. That's not going to get him a nomination. He needs to do something. He needs to distinguish himself somehow from this field. So he's got some work to do. I'll give you a couple more. John Delaney, who's in the top middle here, he's supposed to be the moderate of this field, and I find this to be fascinating. This is a man who is the moderate in the field. Okay, this is the guy who's the conservative of the left. This guy introduced a $4 trillion global warming package. $4 trillion.
Just $4 trillion.
Just the $4 trillion. And this week introduced a new mandatory service program in which every single person graduating high school at 18 years old would then have to go and give a year of their life, 1 to 2 years, to the federal government to do things like the Climate Corps, in which you'd go around the country and install solar panels.
No.
I swear this is the moderate in the campaign. Think about that for a second.
Unbelievable.
This is the guy that got booed on stage for saying socialism wasn't the winning philosophy.
Right.
And that guy is like way more left than anyone I've ever heard before. And finally, I'll give you Marianne Williamson, which is going to be the entertainment. We all love Marianne. Sarah's actual favorite, Marianne.
I love her.
Is going to say something odd about love, and it's going to be really awkward.
Love is going to win.
It's going to be like, like when it's going to be like you're in high school and you're going in for a kiss and the girl doesn't want to do it. That's how I always feel when I'm watching.
I feel like her part of the debate is when it breaks into the musical portion of the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden they break out into song, and these were the days of our lives. The thing about these debates, and the reason they matter and the reason they're important, is because at this level of a debate game, a good debate can't make your campaign, but it can break your campaign. So somebody, if you're polling 2, 3, 4%, one of these, and even lower than that in some of these cases, you have got to come out and make a statement in this thing, because you have Bernie Sanders and you have Elizabeth Warren. They're leading this pack, and they have to come out and do something. So they can kind of play it safe, because if they come out and do something asinine, then it's going to be problematic for their campaigns. Now, me personally, if I'm Bernie Sanders, I wouldn't play it safe with anybody, because he already had the DNC nomination stolen, or bought, I should say, out from under him in 2016. So I would go for the jugular. I would do one of these. It would be one of these.
Who would you try to take out?
Elizabeth Warren. I'd kill you with kindness. I'd be like the old in Papua New Guinea. What they would do is they would make friends with you, and then when you thought you were safe, they would cut your throat and eat you. And that's what I would do. I would say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a great time. Elizabeth, here's what's going to happen. So I'm going to do this, and you're going to do that, and then do that. Then I'd be like, this bitch, and that's what I would do. I would cut her throat. But I love Delaney's plan of, basically socialism / Mormonism. You're now, you're indentured to the state anyway.
That would be amazing. If we saw Bernie do any of that on the debate stage tonight. That would be great.
You should go after
I'd vote for him.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just became a socialist.
I wouldn't, but
He's got to figure out a way. He's got to figure out a way to do something. Elizabeth is passing him. I mean, he's got to stop her rise. And if he just sits there and like is Bernie as Bernie always is, it's not going to help him. And I'll say, like, you make a great point there on what these debates can actually accomplish, because like there was a big back and forth between Castro and O'Rourke last time. It's a lot easier to take out a campaign than it is to make one. Right. Castro had a really good moment in that campaign, took out Beto, you could argue, but it did almost nothing for him. Raised a little bit of money, but he's still at 1%. It's hard to make noise, and there's an air of desperation. It's like Amy Klobuchar is like one of these candidates that you have to worry about this with, right? Like, there's got to be an instinct in her to saying, like, nothing's happening. I got to do something big. I got to do something big, and just come out with a crazy proposal, go after a crazy attack, and hope to make some viral video. But if she's smart, she hangs back and has a really good shot of being like a Biden VP choice. So that's got to wrestle with you, like, do I go for it here and try to and risk making an idiot of myself, or do I hang back and say, all right, well, hopefully Joe wins and he picks me? Probably her best path to the White House.
And that's when I think at this point you see this huge lack of self-awareness, like how far can I go with this?
Yeah.
Because you got to know where you're trending and where you're polling. You're not going to be... So if you're standing on a chair and somebody's standing on the floor, it's far easier for them to pull you down than it is for you to pull them up. And that's the way these debates go.
Yeah. David, are you going to be watching?
Yeah, because I'm always looking for content. I mean, they're constantly giving us
that is
stuff
a treasure trove of
I
content
know.
there.
It's always something. They never cease. I mean, the first second, both of them, they never cease to amaze me at how much they're willing to outdo the other people and the crowd. The fact that the crowd will cheer and clap for some of the stuff that they say. It's like, we want to be able to give transgenders the ability to have an abortion and pay for it. It's like, what are you talking about? Well, and people are clapping for that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting.
Where's the headspace and these people that are listening to these individuals?
Learn a lot, I think, too, about how this stuff happens. I mean, in Tim Alberta's new book, American Carnage, he reports that for the South Carolina debate in 2016, the GOP stacked the audience with pro-Rubio people so that Trump would get booed and Rubio would get cheered. I mean, the parties do stuff like this. This is not our imagination. And if they find something that they don't like going on, they will go in there and play. They'll play with the edges a little bit to see if they can get the result that they want. We saw that with Bernie last time. We saw it against Trump in 2016, and it very well could happen again, especially if someone like a Bernie Sanders were to catch fire, which I do not expect to happen.
I'd love to see some individuals like us, especially with you, brother, walk into a Democratic national debate with the Trump hat and the shirts on, and see if we really don't get jeered.
See how much tolerance.
Yeah,
exactly. See the tolerance.
I'll go if you'll go.
I'll go.
Because I ain't going by myself.
I'll go with you. We'll go. We should do that. You
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's pick one.
Do it. Done deal.
You heard it right
here. I'd walk through West Baltimore with you.
News and Why It Matters gets the exclusive on that then.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Okay.
There you
All right. More to come when we come back.
It's our property, right? It was done on the show.
Yes.
It was negotiated right here.
Thank you. It's signed, done deal. Chad, I know we covered yesterday all of the media reaction to Trump's comments about what he said about Baltimore. But there's some more going on with that.
Well, it's a little minor story that I find interesting. And I always find the lives of politicians interesting and the decisions they choose to make. And as I mentioned in the last segment, the lack of self-awareness that people have whenever they get above accountability and feel untouchable. It's almost they can do and say anything, and people are just supposed to go with it. But those days are gone. These days in politics, especially Washington, D.C. politics, the bar has been broken, so to speak. It's a free-for-all. The old let's just do the status quo is gone. You can't do that anymore. There are so many critical eyes on you with every decision you make and everything you do and every word you say through social media, mainstream media, and just the court of public opinion. It's interesting. People apparently in the swamp aren't aware of this fact. So if my house were on fire and I was on vacation and you called me and said, your house is on fire, I would get a flight and I would come back home to check on what's going on at home, right? So what we've discovered is that our congresspeople, specifically Elijah Cummings, Nancy Pelosi, Ilhan Omar, to name a few, They're out doing their Democratic getaway and having their retreat so they can discuss all the things that Democrats need to discuss so that they can lead our country more effectively heading into 2020. They went to Italy, they stayed in a 5-star hotel, they ate lavishly, fine cuisine and all these things. Well, today they found themselves in the nation of Ghana, which is in West Africa. I've been to Ghana many, many times, and here you can see some pictures of Speaker Pelosi, who is talking to the president of Ghana and also visiting with the ambassador. So she had an interesting tweet this morning where she said, today our delegation held high-level meetings with President at N.A. Akufo-Addo and U.S. Ambassador Sullivan to reaffirm our commitment to the ties that bind our nations, freedom, democracy, justice, and security. We also heard powerful stories of men and women transforming communities across Ghana. Now, I am sure that the people of Central California and San Francisco would love to hear stories of people transforming those communities. I'm sure the people of West Baltimore and people in Maryland would love to hear about those communities being transformed. You can see there the Honorable Representative Elijah Cummings standing there looking like a wasp bit him on the face. And sorry, I went into Bill Cosby voice there. Yeah, you can do the Bill Cosby, you got to. And so anyway, his house is on fire. And he's in Ghana talking about how they're binding these nations and how they have these transforming stories from people from Ghana. What's going on at home? What's going on in the United States? Wow. Tell me what you're doing for your constituency and the people who elected you. You are literally, roads are falling in Baltimore because of rodent infestation. $1.8 billion given from Obama in his administration, and they never once call the Orkin man. It's amazing to me. What are they doing? They're taking that money, they're putting it into pension funds for government workers, teachers, all of these things. We're going pension poor in all of these different cities, and I'm telling you, you can go 20, 25 miles, 30 miles out of any big city, and you'll find yourself in a red state, right? That's a fact. These people do not want to live in these inner cities. Nancy Pelosi, transform your community. Elijah Cummings, transform your community. All of the rest of them, I could name it, the same goes with them. Transform your communities.
Yeah. Still, I think that probably the issue is that, Chad, your point is they need to be paying attention to transforming their own communities, but the media has helped these leaders purport that they don't need to transform the communities because it's like going to a 5-star resort when you enter the city of Baltimore.
That's true. It is.
Right?
It's perfect already. Why would you need to transform anything? It's interesting. I don't... First of all, does anybody believe they care about Ghana at all? I mean, they're going.
No.
They want to go on a trip. Right? They all going on a little trip, and they're going on vacation.
They're shopping in Ghana.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's a free trip that we're paying for. No
on
one.
our money.
We all know Nancy Pelosi doesn't care. Like they don't care. They're going on a vacation. But that's besides the point. Seeing the results of their work when they try to transform things, I'd rather have them focusing on Ghana. Please don't apply any of your policies to any of our cities. You've done that for a long time. In fact, the reason why Baltimore is the way it is because they've been applying their solutions a little bit too often to America. But you're totally right, though. I mean, there's not even an attempt to act like they care and are focusing on.
Well, again, it's old school politics. We've always done this. Why can't we do it now? Because the game's changed. Yeah. The rules changed. We're looking at you. We're watching you. We see this. You can't hide West Baltimore anymore. We see the pictures.
And we have a president that's actually putting it on blast and putting it on notice instead of trying to act like he's going to acknowledge something and then allow the $1.8 billion that Obama sends to Baltimore to be dispersed and not do anything to actually help the inner city, the communities, the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It's
exactly right. Yeah, and to both of your points, a week ago, just like Ghana, and to the point about the president, a week ago, no one was talking about West Baltimore.
Exactly.
They were still in the same squalor, still impoverished, still. I did a meme this morning, put it on Instagram. I took the little AOC and I pulled her out crying at the border and I put her on the street there in West Baltimore and I said, someone tell me when this happens.
Yeah.
Right? Here's the thing. I'm being prophetic right now. Watch me, mark my word. The black community is in trouble because they've already been bought. Their voices have been taken. They're on the plantation. The left is not worrying about them anymore. They're worrying about illegals coming into the country. It is a matter of a decade before Hispanics that have entered the country illegal have now replaced the black community in their communities, and they will not only be without a voice, they'll be without everything.
David?
Because it's all going to be taken from them.
No, I agree. I mean, if this was something that Obama had said and tried to shine a spotlight on Baltimore, on Chicago, on Memphis, on Los Angeles, on any of these cities that are high in crime, high in murder rates. I mean, we have the first black president, half black, whatever. We have the first president of pigment that identifies as an African American in the White House. And what does he do for the black community? I agree with you, Chad. I think the black community, I hope they wake up before they realize that their vote and their voice is meaningless because they continue to support Democrats who are catering to illegals in order to replace the black vote. Yeah. I really hope they wake up before it's too late. Yeah.
Do you think not just the black community, but do you think Americans as a whole are buying what the politicians like Pelosi and Cummings are selling? That all of a sudden they're fine and they don't need to help their communities? I mean, do you think that the average American looks at this and says, okay, I trust them, I believe them?
Well, the average American, I believe there's a lot more. I get a lot of messages from Instagram, from Facebook. I get a lot of messages from people that say, I woke up. I used to be one of them. I used to believe the mainstream media. From all backgrounds, blacks, whites, Hispanics. I get a lot of hate as well, and that lets me know that we still got a lot to fight for. There's still a lot of road to go, but I think there's a lot more people than we understand that are waking up to the propaganda, the lies, and to the fact that the mainstream media is trying to cover it all up and actually talking good about, to have that guy on CNN, to have him trying to talk about Baltimore, I mean, it like it's something good and it's a great community. Anything other than the truth, I mean, now it's nothing but clip after clip from people that are asking people in Baltimore. And I've seen even just this morning, people lifelong, 40s, 50s, 60 years old, been in Baltimore, 70 years, talk about what it used to be like, how it's gone downhill, how it is everything that Donald Trump is saying it is. And that's the real people. That's what the real people are saying. So I hope the people are waking up, and I hope there's a lot more than we see, because we're not going to see it on the mainstream media. They're not going to show and talk about that. Yeah. It'll show up in the voting polls.
Stu, last word, what do you think?
One thing I just think is separate a little bit from this conversation, but very important and amazing, is the fact that Donald Trump completely runs all of these companies. He runs every single one of these media organizations. Every single, look, was Donald Trump really about to tweet about Baltimore if he didn't get in a fight with Cummings? Probably not. Right. But he got in a fight with Cummings. He tweeted about Baltimore. Now everyone's talking about Baltimore. And it's like, I think most of the time, like in this particular instance, I think it's good, right? Like we should have focus on these communities. Sometimes his fights are, I don't necessarily think as productive, but it's a good idea that we sit here and actually think about these things. But imagine you're CNN, you're part of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And it's your entire job is wait for this guy to click send on a tweet. And then you just change your entire day of programming. It is fascinating what he has accomplished.
But he's a genius in that, because at 4 a.m, sitting on the toilet, he tweets out, changes the news cycle.
Controls the entire news cycle with his puppet strings. It is incredible. And they all, you'd think they'd be like, you know what, we're not doing that today. We're going to talk about global warming or whatever.
This Nancy, crazy Chuck. Oh, you crazy Elijah. I love it.
Right. More when we come back.
That's fascinating. Really, I mean, he's just he might as well be in the control room. No, it's incredible.
All right, don't forget, we still have much more to come in overtime. And you can find Mr. Stubergier on the Glenn Beck radio program. You're filling in for Glenn all week.
Yes, Pat and I for the rest of the week, and I'm on Monday solo. Glenn's out for 2 weeks, so we got lots of time.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Glenn.
And on TV all week this week.
Yes, and he's filling in for Glenn TV as well. Mr. Chad Prather, you can catch on the...
Not the Glenn Beck show. I never get asked. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Anytime.
And then David Harris.
Who has been on the Glenn Beck show.
Yes.
Oh, I just have to say.
Messed up.
David J. Harris Jr.?
David J. Harris Jr. on Facebook.
And Facebook.
Social.
Well, if they can search for you.
DavidHarrisJr.com is my website. Get my book. You're going to love it.